more of a somatic practice, and the movements will be fairly small and very repetitive, but repetitive in different ways. So I'll have us do the same thing, but bring your awareness to different parts of the body while you're doing it. And it'll be working on twists and kind of spirals through the body. And this is a very strange way to begin, but I'm going to have us start in a revolved triangle pose. Yeah? What? Yeah. So, and yes, we've done nothing to warm up for this, but it's kind of just a test to see if anything changes, and we'll recheck it periodically through the practice. So, I'm going to mirror you, and I'm actually going to just have my mat. I'm not really going to be on the mat, so start standing up. If you like to have blocks or any sort of prop or furniture, have that forward a little bit to your right. And then we'll step right leg forward, left leg back, and don't worry so much about perfection, all of the details that we often think about. Let yourself hinge over from the hip crease and take your left hand either just to the blocks. Yeah. If you don't have blocks and you don't have some furniture, you could just take it to your leg and check out, oh yeah, what's going on in your twist, how far you go, how does it feel in your body. The top arm for now, I'm just keeping it on the hip, you can do anything. And then back out, but stay in the position and just do a little kind of back and forth movement. And don't worry if it feels really limited. Yeah? All right. And then let's pause. Bend the front knee a little bit, bring yourself up. And we'll change sides, so you can move your props to the other side if you're using them. Hands on the hips at first, and then hinge over from the hip crease. Down we come, right hand to the outside, left hand wherever it wants to be. Get a feel for this one. Maybe this side is different for you. And we'll do a little back and forth just a couple of times here. All right, and then let's undo, come back up, and reset. Great, now we get to lay down. And we'll spend most of the class laying down. So come on down. I didn't mention this before. If you do have blocks, keep one of them handy. And if you don't, it's no big deal at all. Take something for under your head. And you don't need it under the head yet, but you will want it later. If you do want it already, go ahead and set it under your head. And we'll come to lay down. Let's keep the knees bent and have one hand on your heart, one hand on the belly. If it feels good to close your eyes, close the eyes. And just take a few moments to settle in. Bring your attention to the back of the body, starting at the back of the head. Just notice where your head meets the floor. It's tilted or turned a certain way. Skin down a little lower, notice the gap, the back of the neck, and the space between the neck and the floor. Skin down a little lower, upper back, the shoulder blades. Just if one side feels heavier or different than the other side. And keep going down, notice the lumbar spine. There's a space between your low back and the floor. Do you touch? Notice the back of the pelvis. One side heavier than the other, tilted a different way. Same with the feet. Notice how your feet meet the floor. Your awareness here to the place underneath your hands. And notice where you feel movement. Feel it more under one hand or the other or both. Come into, at first, a 2-part breath and then a 3-part breath. See if you can direct your breath lower so that there is movement in the belly. Allow the belly to expand on the inhale and to condense, drop down on the exhale. Take a few breaths like this, focusing on the movement in the belly. We'll add on. As the inhale happens, let the belly expand. And then keep going until you feel the chest expand too. And as you exhale, let it all go. Continue a few more rounds of that. So the belly first, and then the chest. And you let them both go. One more round and then we'll change it a little bit. Let's change your hand position so that the hands are on the side lower ribs. And on the next inhale, let the belly expand like you just did. And now see if you can expand sideways into the ribs. And then at the very end, the last sip of air at the top. As you exhale, just let all of that go. We'll take a few more rounds. First the belly, and the side ribs, and then the chest. Complete the round that you're on. And after that, just return to your normal breathing pattern. Go ahead and let the arms come away from the body. Just take a little head turn, a little side to side, like you're saying no. And we'll let the head rest. Those of you who have a block, you'll hold the block and kind of cross the arms like you're giving the block a hug. And if you don't have a block, you could use some other object, or you could just clasp the arms like so. Got our situation, and think of it more of a hug and less of a, like you don't want to create too much pressure. Now we'll keep the pelvis and the legs relatively still as you start to turn your torso, the head, the arms, one direction and the other. And you likely won't go very far with the movement, but notice just how easy it is for your body to do. Notice if one side is more range of motion than the other side. And especially if anybody's working without the block, sometimes the arms have a tendency just to go on their own. Make sure it's the torso, the arms, and the head that are all going together. This could possibly coordinate with the breath, but it doesn't have to. Find a breathing pattern that makes sense and add that in. And the next time you return back to center, we'll pause. Go ahead and release the block. And we'll roll over onto one side. So you just pick a side if you're on whatever side faces the screen. And here's where I'll suggest something under your head. And it's just enough so that the head feels like it's supported and not too much, but you might have to fiddle with the prop a little bit. And then if anybody likes to have a block or another sort of prop in between the thighs, you can add that in as well. For me, it feels more comfortable, but some people don't like that. So it's up to you. And you'll have the top arm on, both arms are outstretched, just straight out in front of you. And the top arm, it's like a hand sandwich, not a ham sandwich, but a hand sandwich. And then from here on the next inhale, rock forward so the top arm bypasses the bottom arm and your face will get a little smushed by the blanket. And then come back in. So do that a few times, kind of small at first. So inhale, reach forward. And exhale, draw back. So we're going to add on, inhale is a reach forward. And now when you draw back, keep going, let the elbow bend and let the torso turn towards the ceiling. And then you'll come back to where you were and a couple more times. And it might actually not coordinate with the breath, and that's okay. So you reach forward and then you draw back. Almost like a slow motion bow and arrow. And the whole time the top hand is contacting your body, either the arm or the chest. And you'll continue this. Now the legs here are relatively still. You're not holding them rigid. But sometimes we do a pattern similar where we'll roll onto the back. And this is not that. So the upper back will go more towards the floor, but the hips and the lower back stay mostly in their position. We're going to keep doing this motion, but add in a little something. Every time you reach in the open position, press the bottom hand, the bottom arm more towards the floor. And then you'll back off the pressure as the top arm stacks over. So I'll just say that again. As you slide open, the bottom arm just presses a little more into the floor. See if that has any effect on your movement, any effect on how it feels in the body. And I didn't mention this before, you could have the eyes open or closed. The next thing I'll say, there will be some movement in the eyeballs, but they can be open or closed. So if the pressing of the arm is interesting or useful to you, keep doing that. If not, let it go. Next time you come into the open position, let your eyeballs turn kind of towards the back corner of the room. And then when you come into the arm stacked position, turn your eyeballs like you're looking further beyond the top arm. Try that a few times so the eyes are moving. And you don't have to do the same angle of the eyes. So maybe they pick a different angle to look at. And that could absolutely be done with eyes closed, just having the eyeballs face a different direction. And we'll return back to our starting position, the arms stacked. Take a breath. And we'll change the arm angle. So slide the arms down maybe a foot or so they're a little closer to the knees. And we'll take the same pattern here. So at first small, inhale forward, and exhale, just come back palm to palm. Do that 2 or 3 times. For the moment, working with the breath. And then when we include the larger movement, it may or may not work with the breath. So maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Next time you come back, keep going. So the palm of the hand glides across the arm, across the chest. And then again we go. So we won't spend quite as much time on this arm angle. But take a few, notice how it feels different in your body. And then we'll add on that pressure. So next time you go open, press the bottom arm a little more towards the floor. And just notice what else happens in the body when you do that. And then if that's interesting, keep doing it. If not, let it go. And we'll experiment with where our eyes are directed. So maybe they go straight out to the side. Maybe they go up. And then let's take one more back and forth here, meeting in your palm to palm position. And once you get there, let's change the arm angle again, this time going a little more up, and you might have to adjust the head support. Yeah. So just like before, we'll start small. On the inhale, glide forward, and maybe you create a little more of a reach. And on the exhale, come back palm to palm. And a couple more times. So the inhale, that reach. And the exhale, palm to palm. Whenever you're ready to add in the larger movement, let the top hand slide across the arm, across the chest, and we open. And back and forth with this new arm angle. For me, personally, this arm angle is my favorite. And then we'll add in the pressure. So when you go open, press the bottom arm towards the floor. And back off when you come back to the palm to palm. Do that a couple times. And then either continue with the arm pressure or leave it out. And we'll change the eye angle and maybe even the head angle for this one. You can experiment. For me, when I pull in the open position, I like to kind of look back a little towards the back of the room. Try that out. And then when you've had enough of this one, let's pause, palm to palm. And then lower the arms a little bit. Take a recheck, coming onto your back, with or without the head blanket. And notice here, once you've landed, let's divide the body into a right and left half. See if the right side of you feels different than the left side of you. Take a breath. If your breath is different on the right side and the left side. One more check here. Bend the knees if they're not, and if you have the block, grab your block. We'll take that block hug position or just the arms without the block. Keeping the legs and the pelvis relatively still. Let the chest, the arms, and the head go one direction and the other direction. And take a few times. And likely you'll feel one side is easier than the other. We've done this sequence a couple of times and it sometimes flip-flops. It's not always the one you expect it to be. And then we'll come back to center, release your block. And we'll change sides. I'm going to turn around just so my back isn't to you, but you can just roll over. And we'll do the whole thing on side two. If you need the knee block, go ahead and have that. Just make sure your head is supported. Take any little adjustments. And when you're ready, we'll begin with our palm to palm, arms just straight out in front of you, keeping it small. So the inhale, rock forward, and the exhale, come back to your palm to palm. Taking that a couple of times. When you're ready to add on the larger movement as the arm glides back, let the palm sweep the arm, the chest, and turn. And then coming back, palm to palm and beyond. So continue this, back and forth we go. We'll do the same add-ons that we did on the first side. So the next time the top arm slides across, press the bottom arm down a little more firmly into the floor. And you'll ease off the pressure when you come back. Take a couple more rounds with that, just a little extra down. And if that is interesting or useful for you, keep it going. If not, let it go. And now we'll pay attention to what our eyes are doing. So let the eyes just kind of look beyond where your arm is. And you can take a different eye angle each time. And then next time you return back to center, we'll just pause, take a moment. You're ready to change, you'll slide the arms down, maybe a foot or so, a little closer to the knees. Starting out small with the breath, inhale, glide forward. And exhale, return palm to palm. And continue that just a few more times. And whenever you're ready to add in the larger movement with the top arm, sweep the bottom arm and the chest. And back and forth you go with this one. We'll add on next time you go open, create a little extra pressure down with the bottom arm. You'll ease off when you return. Your choice if you're keeping that or letting it go. And add in the movement of the eyeballs. Just let the eyes look a little beyond where you're going. Even if they're closed, just imagine you were looking at something. Notice how that changes your body, how that changes what you feel. And next time we land back in the palm to palm, we'll stay. Let's take a moment. Then we'll take our last position here. Arms go up a little more towards the head, and you might have to move your head support so it's not in the way. Just the smaller movement at first with breath. Inhale forward and exhale palm to palm. Continue that one a couple of times. And when you're ready to add on, you can slide the hand across the arm, across the chest, and open. Back and forth with this pattern in the arm in this position. And when you're ready, we'll add in pressure in the bottom arm when you go open. Easing off the pressure when you close. And keep the pressure or forget about it. Let's add in the movement of the eyes. Maybe for this one, it feels interesting to change the angle of your head. And when you're ready to be done with this one, just come back to your palm to palm. Take a moment. We'll return once again onto your back with or without the head blanket. Let's have the knees bent and just check it out. Notice how the back of your body meets the floor. That feels different than before. Noticing the right half and the left half. And then let's take our 3-part breath. Just as a reminder, but you go any pace. Belly, side ribs, chest. Take another 1 or 2 more rounds of that. See if your breathing has changed. And after you complete the next one, just return to your normal breath. Have your block. We'll take our block hug one more time. It's a gentle squeeze here. And keeping the legs and the pelvis relatively still. Let the upper body, the head, and the arms turn. And see if this has changed at all. Release into the block. Pause for a moment. It'll feel a little bit abrupt, but in a second we'll come back up and check our triangle, but then we'll come right back down again. Whenever you're ready to transition, take your time, take your time. Yeah, it feels good to come up really fast after those. Don't worry though, we'll come right back down, so. All right, so once you're up and standing, if you used props before, go ahead and set those up. I'll mirror you guys, so right leg forward, left leg back. And let yourself hinge from the hip crease, and then down we come, left hand to the props. And as you turn open, just notice if this is any different than the first one. And you can do the same thing, just kind of that little rock back and forth, which somewhat resembles that pattern we were taking on the floor. And we'll unwind, bring yourself back up. And then we'll change to side two, rearrange your props if you're using them. Left leg is forward, right leg is back. Hinge over from the hip crease, down we come, right hand to the support. And check it out. Back and forth a little bit. Great. And then let's come back up to the center. Just release the position. Yeah, has yours changed at all? Yeah, mine too. All right, so we're going back down again. Same side lying position here, but with a little, this time we'll work more with the legs. So we'll be on the sides again, yeah. And for me, having the legs stacked like this without any support in between feels really crummy on my hips. If it feels fine for you, go ahead and do no block. I'm gonna keep, actually maybe I'll grab a blanket instead. Because it's just a little, we're gonna be sliding the legs across each other, so it can be a little awkward with the block, but if you need the block, by all means, take it. Yeah. So just come back to whatever was your first side. Same position here with the arms stacked palm to palm. And now let's pay attention to the legs. So let the top leg shift forward, so the top knee goes about a little ahead of the bottom knee, and then come back to neutral. So take that one a few times. You likely won't get a huge range of motion here. This might be a inhale one direction, exhale the other. It might be completely independent of the breath. So completely up to you. And then let's pause, still working with the legs. Let's now take the top leg back from the bottom leg and then to center. Do that a few times. So the hips are rolling in the direction of the floor. Great. And now we'll go back and forth. So from all the way back, or your version of all the way back, to all the way forward. Do that a few times. Good. And then let's pause just back in the center. We'll come to the arm again. It'll be similar to the previous pattern, but not quite the same. Bring the arm forward like we did before. And now when you come back, don't bend the elbow, keep the arm straight and just go as far as you can without the elbow bending. So you won't go quite as far as before. And then let's do that one a few times. And then let's pause with the hands stacked. And now we'll do arm and leg together in the same direction. So as the arm glides forward, let the top knee glide forward. And then when you draw the arm back, let the top knee glide back. And again, only move the arm as far as you can without bending the elbow. Take this one a few times. You could call this a spinal roll because both ends of the spine are going in the same direction. All right, and then coming back to center. So now we'll take the top knee, let it glide back and glide the top arm forward. And then return both to center. Let's do that a few times. So the top knee glides back, the top arm glides forward. And center. See if you can just do that back and forth. Yeah. And then from center, we'll change. So the top knee glides forward, the top arm glides back, and center. Take a couple more times. Top knee forward, top arm back. Yeah. And then you guessed it. When the top arm comes, now let the top arm come forward, the top knee come back, and then change. So what, I won't say it, it's confusing in my words, but whatever the arm is doing, let the leg go opposite. Yeah. This is a strange one, but let's see if it does anything. Let's pause, just come back to center. Okay, so we'll do the same process on side two. Either just roll over, I'm gonna turn all the way around. So I don't have my back to you. And just a reminder, the arms are straight out in front, the knees are bent, possibly with the prop in between if you need that. And then we'll start with the legs. Let's let the top leg glide a little ahead of the bottom leg, and then just back to center. Do that a few times. So glide it forward and center. You might find one side has a lot more mobility than the other side. And then we'll change. So from the center, glide the top knee back, the top thigh back. Center. Now, these movements don't have to be big. They might be very, very small. And in fact, sometimes that actually works better. And then we'll do our back and forth. So left and forward. For the moment, the upper body and the arms are relatively still. Let the movement settle. And we'll redo the arm. So let's glide forward with the top arm. And then when you glide back, keep the arms straight so it won't go quite as far as we did on the previous pattern. And take that a few times. So forward and back. Okay, and then let's pause, palm to palm. And we'll start with this one. Glide the top knee back and the top arm forward. And then just come to center. Do that a few times. So the arm goes forward, the leg goes back. And then we'll change from your center. Take the top arm back and the top leg forward. And center. And repeat that a few times. Yeah, and then we'll go all the way. So from when one arm goes, the arm goes forward, the leg goes back and forth we go. And don't try to muscle your way through it. If you are getting a little stuck, just pause in the stuck position. Even if the movement is very small. And then one or two more. Being back in the center. And let's take a recheck on your back. So take your time to get there. Your blocks are handy. If they're not, don't worry about it. Let's first check our breath. So the 3-part breath, belly, side ribs, chest. And then we'll check our hug roll. So grab your block if it's handy. If it's not handy, just do without. You'll clutch the block, find that hug position. Legs and pelvis stay pretty still as we roll the chest and the head and the arms to one side and to the other side. Let's take a few rounds of this. At least for me, it's opened up quite a bit from the first one. Next time you come back to center, we'll pause. Release the block. Just take a second. We're about to come up to stand again, but we won't be up for long. Just to find our triangle recheck. Yeah. So take your time. And we'll come back down again, so you can just leave all the stuff you've set up. Start with the right leg forward. And then down we come. Left hand on your support or on the leg if you don't have the props. And then see what happens. Maybe you take a few little back and forth. Maybe it feels right to lift the arm. For me, I still think it feels better hand to the hip, but try anything. Yeah. Right. The next time you come back down, we'll come out of that, back up to stand, changing sides. For you two, any results? Okay. Awesome. Yeah, the process is very gradual, but it works. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, let's try this side. So down we come. That'll be right hand down. And pull. You can do a little back and forth. I was just staying there, marveling at how different it felt. Great. And then next time you come down, we'll release that, just come back up to stand. We'll next take a position standing, and then we'll do a version of it laying down. So I'll just talk you through it as we go. I'll mirror you guys. So have kind of a medium to wide stance. Take the right arm and just do a sweep. So it kind of sweeps on the diagonal. And let's look up towards the arm. And then you'll come down and sweep the other side. You can lift the heel. Yeah, and look up towards the lifted arm. And then we'll go it again, but change the gaze. So let's go right arm sweeps, but look down towards the left arm. And then come again, sweep the arm and look down. Yeah. Let's take one more time, the sweep. You can look wherever you want. Great. And last side. Okay, release. Now, when we come down to the floor, you'll likely be rolling off the mat. Some people prefer actually to get rid of the mat entirely, and some people prefer to put more blankets and padding everywhere, so it's completely up to you. Yeah, I'll go ahead, I'll be daring, I'll get rid of the mat here. And go ahead and lie down. And kind of like the letter X. So the arms are not quite up by your head, they're out a little bit from that. The legs are out wide. Yes. And now the right arm, we'll start to just curl the fingers in. You're not really making a fist, you'll just draw the fingers in. Let the back of the arm start to peel up off the floor. And now you'll sweep the right hand across the chest over the left arm until the whole body starts to roll left, but keep the inner edge of the right foot on the floor. So that'll be kind of your anchor here. And if it feels all right to reach the right arm a little extra, do. And if it feels all right to press the inner foot towards the floor, do. And then we'll unwind, re-sweep the arm, sweep the chest, head lands to the floor, and we're back in our letter X. Let's do the second side. So the left arm, fingers curl in, the arm bends. You'll sweep across the chest, sweep across the arm. Keep going until you roll over almost onto the side. And then keep reaching the arm if that feels okay, and press through the inner edge of the left foot. And then we'll unsweep, coming back to starting position. Let's take that one more. I won't really say what to do, just try it out. And then we come back, this is your side two. Yeah. And coming back. Now, if shoulders are a little iffy, you'll repeat the same thing again. The next one just requires a little more shoulder mobility. So if you want to try it, it's very similar. The right arm sweeps back, and then you'll turn so the palm of the hand goes to the floor, and then turn over from there. And the legs will do the same thing as the previous one. So the inner foot presses down. Yeah. And then we'll unwind. Back. And I'll say this other version. So the left arm comes up by your head, the palm turns to the floor as we roll. And then we'll pull down to unroll. Take one last round of any version. You could make up a new one too if you wanted to. I do it all the time. Yeah. All right. And once you're back down again, just second. You can have legs bent or straight. We'll take a recheck of our 3-part breath here. As a reminder, belly, side ribs, chest. You go at your own pace. And then let's take one last hug roll. If your block is handy, great. If not, just go without. And we'll have the knees bent, arms clasping your prop or not. Take your little rock side to side and see if that's changed at all. And then we'll let the movement settle. Let the limbs relax. And take one last check-in, how your body meets the floor. Anything has changed in the last hour. We'll be next in Shavasana. You can be exactly as you are, or you can make some adjustments if you need. From your Shavasana position. Just allow your whole self to relax. The effort go, letting the mental effort go too. Your attention back to your body. Start to bring in just some small, easy movements. Any point, allow your knees to bend and roll over to one side. Take your time from there. Come up to sit. No longer have the block, but just give yourself a little bit of a hug with your arms. Your body for everything that it's able to do. And thank yourself for being here. Namaste.